morning, Grace Preschool friends. It's Miss Lisa here. Today we're going to talk about an artist who I really admire. His name is Piet Mondrian. His name sounds French, but he's actually a Dutch painter, or was a Dutch painter. He's up in heaven now. Oh, and by the way, I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Me and my family, we did too. So I'm grateful for them, I'm grateful for you, and I'm glad to be here. I want to talk a little bit about some art terms that I know some of you might know, but I think it's important to learn about them. And Mondrian liked to use shape. And we know about shapes, right? Circles, squares, rectangles, stars, hearts. A shape is the outline of something. So I'm going to show you here that the art terms, the words that people use to talk about art, are called art elements, some of them anyway. And the art elements are really important things for you to consider when you're doing a piece of art. We have line, and a line is just a dot that moves. And when you take your crayon or pencil and start with a little dot and then draw a line, you can make it go in any direction you want. If you want to do, let's say rough bark on a tree, maybe you do really wiggly lines, right? If you wanted to do a cloud, you might draw a nice soft line, right? A curvy line. So the direction of your line, whichever way is going, is important. Like if you wanted to show lightning from the sky, maybe you draw a zigzag, right? That looks like a Z, the letter Z. So think about that. And then there's also shape, which is the outline. We talked about that. Texture, the feeling of that something. We've talked about that. Color. We've talked about color quite a bit. Form, that makes something more dimensional. We talked about sculpture. So sculpture and form are related. And then there's value. Value means light to dark. So in your drawings and your artwork, you're going to want to have a variation of value, okay? And so you'll have white, and then you'll have what's called a mid-tone, something like this, like a medium gray, and then you'll have some really dark colors, right? Like black or navy blue, okay? And also when you're thinking about sculpture, think about space, right? If you have a mobile hanging, it's hanging in space. So those are the art elements, and we're going to talk about those more as we go on. But I want you to remember that you can use color and line and shape and all that stuff in your art. So back to Mondrian. I want you to look at two different pieces of artwork by the artist. And I want you to notice how different they are. But there are some things that are similar. Do you notice there's line, right? These lines are more regular, up and down and across, right? And then these lines here are curved. So in this one here, it's a little bit softer feeling. This one seems harsher, right? I love them both. And I don't know if you remember, but I had those stickers that we used, and I thought, let me try to copy, because I admire this artist, this piece that he did. And it's all about rectangles and squares, so shape is really important to this artist, right? So I did something like that with stickers. But then there's some days when I want to be freer, and I don't want everything to be really straight, and I want my art to have more curved lines, maybe wiggly lines. And those lines are called organic lines. That's a big word, you don't have to remember it. But some days I just want to fool around with my art supplies. So I'm going to just show you an idea of what you can do trying to remember this artist, Mondrian, and how he created art. And also, these kind of remind me, especially this one, remind me of the stained glass windows that we used to see up in the sanctuary here at Grace. Stained glass windows are a great inspiration for my own artwork. So I'm going to pretend I'm drawing a stained glass window, but I'm going to consider this artist style. And I'm going to get my black crayon, and I'm going to make a bunch of lines. These are organic curved lines. They're not vertical and horizontal. So I have this, and now I can use my crayons and I can fill in these different shapes. I'm going to fill in the diamond shape with red, and I might pick some yellow for this diamond shape. Might get some blue over here. Oh, I'm going to add green too. I like all the colors of the rainbow. Let's get some orange in there. I'm going to put the orange next to the red. So I just started it. But you see, it reminds me of a stained glass window, and it also reminds me of this artist, Mondrian. So try this at home. You can use markers, crayons, paints, whatever you like. Oh, and speaking of paint, remember we mixed green with our yellow and blue? Next week, we're going to do a painting with green paint. And if you want to participate with me during, remember to wear a smock. We always want to make sure we keep our clothes clean. I love you all, and I miss you, and I'll see you next week.